Hello everyone and welcome to this week's Market Talk. And we have with us this time CHR Foodservice Equipment's MD, Paul Neville, and Dean Simpson, who is the Operations Director at Pentland Wholesale. So thank you very much for joining us this week, guys. We're going to go straight into the questions. Paul, I'm going to start with you. There's been a couple of positive developments for CHR recently. One of them being that you're working on the Angel at Hetton project, which is for Michelin-starred chef Michael Wignall. It's a really advanced technological smart kitchen installation. So can you kind of take us through how you got involved in the scheme and how you're incorporating this really cutting-edge technology into it?
Yes, the Angel is actually quite an old customer of ours. I think the last project we did for them was 1994. So that kitchen is still intact and in play currently. While it's going under its refurbishments. For the late Dennis Watkins, and I think that pub probably was, I don't know, probably the first what I would classify truly as a gastro pub in the UK, and made its mark on there. We then got a reintroduction to that through Michael and some of the guys that we've been working with, and yeah, we've got an eco chef and a kitchen going into there that is going to reduce the power requirements from a 300 kilowatt kitchen down to a 120 kilowatt kitchen, and effectively that's what we are doing for the Angel.
Excellent stuff. So what kind of other cutting edge technology are you incorporating into it, and are you seeing this as a trend towards sustainability and kind of smart kitchens in the market?
I'm not sure if it's a trend. I mean, that's the route to market for us at CHR. And I think when you talk about sustainability, I mean, we look at the chefs and the producers and, you know, the fields and farm to fork and growing and all the rest of it, but we don't seem to be able to provide a British kitchen. So that's in effect what we are trying to do, and to make it more sustainable that way. I think from the client's point of view, anything that's what they're going to invest in that is going to see them show a return on their investment is just a good idea. The fact that it's going to lower the carbon footprint ticks another box for them, and I think that's generally what it is. I mean, on this development, to classic or to break it down more simply, it's a little bit like having 50 chefs in the kitchen at any one time, being able to switch on and off appliances when we tell them to. Mm-hmm. And that's what it does. That's what the system does.
Okay, pretty advanced technology then, Paul. Do you see this? Do you see that kind of technology becoming more prevalent in certain sectors of the market once we get out of lockdown?
I think it should be a given, Andrew, and I think with what we're going to be seeing from government, and I think there's going to be a big push towards this carbon reduction as we grab ourselves out of this. I think this will become a mainframe of what we see in food service equipment going forward.
Okay, and Dean, we'll bring you into the conversation now. Tell us about what life has been like at Pentland over the last few months, and you know, how the operation is working given the restrictions that are currently in place.
Yeah, it's interesting. I spoke with Claire on Friday when we sorted this out for today, and it got me thinking over the weekend the kind of the story that we've been through since the beginning of the lockdown, and a lot of things you tend to forget how difficult life has been. Because things have been so fast paced and so changeable. It really is easy to forget how hard things were in the first instance. The you know, we just didn't really know what was happening. There was complete uncertainty across everywhere. So, I mean, going back through to this time last year, I'd never even heard of the word furlough. Within 3 or 4 weeks, I'd got a staff meeting in the warehouse where I'm having to tell 30 odd people that they need to go home. There's this furlough, you know, you can't come to work. The following days ended up with just 4 of us in the entire building. So we had a few people working from home, but 4 of us doing everything, and it really just striving to stay open, which we managed to do. We managed to stay open throughout the entire pandemic. You know, we've got ourselves to a point now where we understand everything a lot more. We feel like we can sort of organise things better. But I really think there was a lot of tough decisions to make. We had to make ourselves leaner. We couldn't afford to carry on as we were. We had to make changes. There were tough decisions, as I say. But you know, once we'd made those decisions and we refined how we were working and sort of changed a couple of departments, made things just run a little well, as I say, a little leaner. You know, we got to the point now where we really feel that it's the first time I've actually been able to say to everybody with some confidence, you've nothing to worry about. You know, we're going to come out of this. We're going to be okay. It was very difficult throughout the previous 11 months to ever be able to say that. Everybody that was put on furlough, I tried every 2 or 3 weeks. I was sending out emails. Despite GDPR, I needed personal email addresses. But I was trying to give them some confidence. You know, we were explaining about turnover, about, you know, how many units we were moving. Just trying to give. I realised being sat at home, it must have been very, very difficult. But it was hard to say anything without just keep repeating yourself. Yeah. And now, you know, fortunately, we find ourselves in the position that we're at, where we're sort of really looking forwards for the first time in all this time. And I think it's appropriate, you know, that I should say a big thank you to all our staff, regardless what they did. You know, whether they were on furlough and being patient with us, or whether they were being asked to come in and do flexible duties or flexible hours. Everybody pulled together. It was you know, it was really. I don't want to sound corny, but really made me and the other directors feel very proud of the team that we've got here. And where we are now really shows that.
That's great, Dean. I love the kind of positivity after all this time. So, I mean, how is Pentland itself kind of helping the industry with the big ramp up, with hopefully the road to recovery roadmap in the next few months? How are you guys helping in that regard?
Well, we've, in fact, just today is the first time we've had virtually all staff back. We've been seeing slowly over the last few weeks, orders are coming in, increasing, not on a daily basis, but when you looked at the weekly trend, things were improving. As soon as we got the announcement about next Monday with the schools, we saw a distinct difference. And so with that in mind, what I didn't want was a bit like last summer, where we were really caught out. I mean, we were just firefighting. To be quite honest, it was difficult, and I didn't want to be in that situation. So with that in mind, we've brought virtually everybody back now full time. We're very fortunate. We have a big facility here, so we can socially distance, we can move desks apart, we can do everything that we need to, you know, correctly, without anybody needing, you know, any fear of you know, being worried about being in the workplace. We're lucky in that respect. But going back to your question, really, it's been a case of making sure that we're ahead of the curve. I don't want to be caught out. I want to be here for the dealers. We're going to have, you know, I'd rather have people sat here with a little spare time on their hands than being caught out and as, you know, sort of not being ready. So we've done that. We've got ready just today. In preparation, done a little bit of extra training for some of the staff on recognising how kit has been sat for possibly months and months, not being used. We could get quite a few calls from end users on our dealers. Wear washing, ice machines, obviously refrigeration. So we've looked into that, and hopefully we can be here to help, and we're ready. We're ready to get going.
Good stuff. And kind of the same sort of question to you as well, Paul. How are you helping operators for the big restart? Are you kind of put any measures into place, or are you strategizing how it's going to happen over the next few months?
Obviously, I think service is going to be the big one. I think we've seen a big drop off, obviously, for the service requirements. People aren't operating, so they're putting things off with regards to general maintenance. There are obviously exceptions to that when we're dealing with some of the bigger accounts and the online platforms that are, continuing to work throughout this. I've got to take my hats off for Cedar here in reference to the amounts of information that we get as part of that membership with regards to opening advice and decommissioning advice that we are able to pass on to the end users. And we're ready to rumble when the market opens. I mean, in general terms, that's where we are at the moment. We're not kind of into the one-off market. So generally we know that when we've got a project, we've got a 10-week lead-in time. So it's a little bit easier to plan on that accord.
All right. And Paul, we noticed recently you created a role within the business to specifically promote the EcoChef range. Do you want to give us some understanding of the significance behind that?
I think, Andrew, we were just ready. Johnny Barron I've known for a number of years. We did some work with Johnny at Wellux as part of the development kitchen there. And Johnny fell foul of COVID in his last role and was bouncing around a little bit. And we had a bit of a chinwag over what we wanted to do with EcoChef and where we wanted to try and take that brand. I think from Johnny's point of view, being an ex-chef, he brings us a different skill set than what we possess at the moment. And what I'm hoping for is that what we get is three things that click together. We get the sustainable kick, we get the hammer off government with regards to energy, which should, in theory, give us more opportunity with the appointment of Johnny there. And so far, so good. I mean, he's only been in a month and we've already secured two very nice contracts. So it's upwards and onwards, I think.
Yeah, that's great. Obviously, this week we've got the budget announcement, and everybody in the hospitality operator side of the industry will be waiting to find out what gets announced. From your perspective, for the distributor side of the industry, is that the announcements to come from that? Is that something you're kind of anxious about? Are there any particular points you're holding on to, or do you just feel like you're going to get on with business regardless of what gets announced?
Well, we're going to have to get on with it, whatever the announcements are. What I think, a bit like Dean, I think going back originally to the first lockdown, and then the strategy was really about trying to keep hold of jobs, and that really hasn't changed. So I think there's two elements of it. There's obviously the VAT element of it from the end user's point of view to encourage more people coming through the door. That has to be a given. And I think flexible furlough needs to be extended up until the end of the year. And that will allow the businesses to come out of this at the rate that the economy is going to set to recover. And if it happens quickly, great, get rid of it. If it doesn't, then they've got to, unfortunately, reinvest in us.
Yeah, okay.
Rightio. Dean, coming back to you, in terms of, say, developments during the lockdown periods and the pandemic, has that kind of prompted Pentland to include different or new products in your portfolio? Have you changed what you offer at all?
We haven't, I wouldn't say we changed what we've offered. We recognised quite early on that as soon as there was talk about a vaccine, that there would be a requirement for vaccine storage. So we developed a cabinet that would do that. Obviously, it's up to the latest legislation, but good value. That's our kind of niche. So that's one product that we did develop from scratch, and that's now available. The other thing we had noticed was a trend to more localized shopping, so convenience stores, farm shops, etc. People buying locally. So we did see. We've seen now a move more to kind of tiered displays, serve over counters, that kind of thing, and we're trying to open up our portfolio to that. Initially, it was chest freezers. We could not get enough chest freezers in the first lockdown. That's what everybody was buying, and so I'm sure everybody, all our competitors, would have been the same. Everybody was scrabbling around for those, but yeah, it's slowly changed as the year wore on.
Okay, and also recently I basically forced you into writing an opinion piece for Catering Insight, which everyone will see in the March issue. But you were discussing specifically the soaring freight costs at the moment for imports. So can you talk us through a little bit how that's kind of impacted you and how you're meeting that challenge?
Yeah, it's been a really difficult time, this, because just as we felt we were getting through the main kind of pandemic and we got everything in place, we were feeling organised, we were sort of ready for coming back. And then the shipping crisis, and I don't know if any of you have ever watched Designated Survivor, but when there's kind of, you just think, well, what else can go wrong? And then this is, and that's how it's felt. To be honest, it feels now like it's slowly easing. It's slowly getting better. People will see in the article, the containers were in the wrong part of the world. They're just hold-ups in our ports. It created absolute mayhem. So for us in the UK, I can't comment for anywhere else, but we saw a 600% increase in cost of a shipping container. So it wasn't just us. I mean, we're part of the bigger Pentland group who were bringing in product, sports brands and footwear from all over the Far East. And so we've had lots of discussions with the shipping departments at the Pentland Group, and it's not just us; it's across the board. So when you're going out buying your new garden furniture, when the sun comes out properly, see, everything will be a little bit more expensive, not as much in stock because we're all dealing with the same. But hopefully, it's sort of slowly. Getting back to some kind of normality, we hope. Maybe another 6 to 8 weeks.
Sure. Okay. Well, that's good to hear. And we're getting to the point where we're running out of time. So, Paul, I'll just finish with you and sort of continuing the theme that Dean mentioned there in terms of pricing. There's obviously the cost of raw materials have been going up as well. Are you starting to see increased pricing being fed into the market at your end from suppliers, and is that affecting the jobs that you're going to be quoting for in the weeks ahead?
I think normally we would expect in January to see increases across the board anyway. So we're not seeing at this stage anything more than we would normally see. Obviously, from the bits and pieces that we are importing in from abroad, we're starting to see some increases in them freight costs and also delays in them freights that are coming across, but nothing that has been affected by the pandemic.
Sure. Okay. Well, thank you to you both for joining us for this week's Market Talk. Great to get your views. Best of luck for the rest of the year, and join us again next week for another episode. Thank you.